Hey everyone, and welcome to Convos with Cunningham on KFES Streaming. I'm Jeff Cunningham, joined today with Dr. Abe Funk, who is a local pharmacist here in Cape Girardeau. And I think this is a subject that we're going to discuss today that is something that a lot of people will be interested in because it's something that we have in the news a lot. But the cost of medications, different medications, and definitely it's something that's close to your heart as well.
It is, absolutely. I appreciate you having me here, Jeff.
So tell us, you are with John's Pharmacy here in Cape Girardeau, which is, for those who don't know, is a local pharmacy. You're not a national chain.
Nope.
And it was started by your father-in-law. So tell us a little about that.
So my father-in-law, John McMullen, started the pharmacy in 1990. He had been in this area working for a local chain pharmacy, and they went out of business. And like many people, he just wanted to take care of his patients. Wanted to make sure his staff still had a job, his patients could be taken care of. And so he went out on a limb and started his own pharmacy. So that was 1990. He eventually ventured out some into long-term care, nursing home type pharmacy. And then I came on board in 2009, and we've expanded some since then.
Yeah, now you have locations in different cities around Cape, right? Around the Heartland.
We do, around the Heartland. So basically Southeast Missouri, we go over to Poplar Bluff, up to Farmington, and kind of stuff in between.
So would you say, is it fair to say that the pharmacy business, especially one like yours, which is more local, is facing a lot of challenges right now?
Oh, absolutely. John and I would talk lots of times about how pharmacy was when he started and how pharmacy is today. And it's a very different situation. It's driven much less today by what the patient needs or what the doctor needs and by what the insurance company demands.
Mm-hmm. And that can be tough for both the pharmacy and the patient, I would think.
Absolutely.
So can you give us an example of maybe a common drug like, insulin or something like that can kind of illustrate what you're talking about?
Yeah, so there are lots of different types of insulin, some made by different companies. And what will happen is a pharmacy benefit manager, a PBM, who's basically just a middleman, they will go out and they will negotiate different prices with the different manufacturers. The manufacturers will pay them a kickback, a rebate for forcing people to use their drug. And that could drive up the cost for the patient. But then the PBM is profiting on the back end for the patient having to go to that drug, which may be the more expensive option for the patient.
Yeah, and that's something that we have talked about a lot lately. I know this is something that you want to talk about too, the PBMs, the product benefit managers. And it's a controversial subject because at one point, and correct me if I'm wrong here, there was a need for PBMs, right, to negotiate these prices. But then it changed to where now, I don't want to be unfair to anyone out there, but
Sure.
But I know you're not the only pharmacist that thinks that that these the PBMs are part of the reason why drugs are so expensive. Is that fair?
They absolutely are.
Okay.
And I would say most pharmacists around the country that are not employed by one of them would believe the same thing.
Right. So what do we do about it?
Yeah, so maybe, like to start with, maybe I'll give an example of how the situation works. So it's like, I'll start with just basic insurance with the way insurance started. So an insurance company came around and said, hey, we want to give our clients a better rate for whatever it is. So they'd say, hey, we want to go to the hospital and we're going to negotiate a 10% discount for you. And so the service would cost $100 at the hospital. The insurance company comes and says, we want a 10% discount. The hospital says, or the doctor's office or whoever says, well, golly, I really need to make $100 to pay for this. So you want a 10% discount. Okay, we'll give you a 10% discount, but now our price is $110. You get a 10% discount, but they still get the $100. And then the next year, the insurance company comes back and say, well, we need a 20% discount now. And the hospital says, man, that's tough. Okay, we're going to charge $120 now for it because they still have to pay their people. They still have to pay for the service, whatever it is. And so as you can see, that just makes the price go up and up and up. The same thing happens in the drug supply chain. So the PBM goes to the manufacturer and says, we need a discount. Often they are charging 50, 60, 70% discounts on the drug. The manufacturer still has to make money. They still have to research the drug. They still have to produce the drug. They still have to pay their people. And so what happens is the price just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. And as you mentioned in insulin, that's a perfect example. Insulin's been out for decades. The price hasn't stayed the same. It hasn't gone down. It's gone up because the PBMs keep saying we need a bigger cut, a bigger cut, a bigger cut.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but who decides these increases? The PBMs, is there a reason behind it? Did they ever give a reason like why they would need a 50% markup on a drug, you know?
They would say that they are saving their clients money because they're getting this discount off of list price. But what it in effect does is it just drives up the list price higher and higher. And it makes the people, the normal everyday person, and especially the people who don't have insurance, that are stuck paying that high price, they're paying a significantly higher price just because of that negotiation that was supposed to save everyone money.
So I know that it's been said, and we've reported on the news a lot, and again, I'll defer to your judgment, but that, you know, drug prices in the United States are way more expensive than they are in other countries.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Is the PBM, in your opinion, the reason? Do other countries have these middlemen?
No, we are the only country in the world that has PBMs, and we pay the highest for our drugs in the world. And for us, we would draw a direct correlation to that. Obviously, the PBM industry would say something different, and I respect their opinion on that. But it is interesting to me that we pay the most, and we're the only ones that have this industry.
And in fairness, if there's anybody out there that's a PBM or in the industry and they want to come in and give their side of things, I'd be happy to host them. But I know that the cost of drugs is something that's just so newsworthy right now because, like you said, it does seem to be going up and up and up. And for some people who don't have a lot of money or good insurance, it becomes cost prohibitive. And sometimes they need these drugs in order to live, right? In many cases.
Right. These are, we have people that come in and these are life-saving drugs for them. These are not, I want to do this drug. It's how do I stay alive? And it's difficult. We'll get into that. Let me give you another example that maybe is helpful to Missourians. Missouri Medicaid does not use a PBM. They process their claims basically in-house. The Missouri Consolidated Healthcare, which is the health insurance for government employees, does use a PBM. Year after year, we have shown that Missouri Medicaid stays basically flat with their expenses for drugs, and Consolidated Healthcare pays more and more every single year.
So I know when we spoke on the phone, you told me that if something isn't done at some point in the next 5 years, it would be tough for a local pharmacy like yours to stay afloat. Is that still?
Oh, absolutely. We see pharmacies closing all the time. In the last couple of years, unfortunately, we have had to close a couple of pharmacies. We had a pharmacy in Charleston and a pharmacy in Gideon. And they were smaller pharmacies and smaller communities, and we just couldn't pay our bills. And we would subsidize from some of our bigger locations, but it just got to the point where we couldn't keep going.
Was it a situation where sometimes with the middlemen, with the cost, it got to where you weren't recouping what you pay for the drug? Absolutely.
It is very common that we are paid less than our cost on drugs, particularly on brand drugs. If I went to any of our pharmacies today, I could find a dozen examples where we were paid not just slightly below our cost, but it could be $20, $40, $100 below our cost for some of these drugs. And our plea is, we just want to, on some of these, don't pay us below our cost. I mean, I don't know any other industry that says it's okay to contract with someone and pay them less than it costs them to acquire their product.
So in the grand scheme of things, in the PBMs, does it matter to them, in your opinion, if local smaller pharmacies go out of business? Because they still have what? They have the CVSs and they have the Walmarts and the Walgreens.
Right. So CVS actually is owned by one of the largest PBMs. So they absolutely are happy with us going out of business because they send more business to themselves. So the three largest PBMs in the country control 80% of drugs in the country. So it is a huge oligopoly. All of them have their own pharmacies. All of them often force patients to go to their pharmacies. They pay themselves, study after study shows, they pay themselves significantly more than they pay other pharmacies, sometimes hundreds of percentage points higher. And they're very comfortable with the idea of independent local pharmacies going out of business because it just forces more to them. I've had conversations with people at some of these large PBMs who have told me up front, our goal is that in 5 or 6 years, there are less of you. That means more business for us, and then we can start paying ourselves even more.
So, I mean, I'd hate to hear that happen. Nobody wants, at least I don't. I mean, I think everybody in a community like Cape wants the local places to thrive.
Right.
I mean, I still shop at Walmart like anybody else, but we go to the chain restaurant occasionally too.
Sure.
But we still go to
We're
our
local Main Street people.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So,
Yep.
but let me ask you this question: what benefits the patient more? You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
if you go out of business or not, can you explain?
Yeah, so perfect example. We just extended a contract offer to a new pharmacist. She signed her contract today, works at one of the large chains in Southeast Missouri, I won't say which one, and was recently written up by her supervisor because the supervisor told her she wasn't checking enough prescriptions because she was spending, quote, too much time talking to patients and counseling patients. And she said, we don't pay you to counsel patients. We pay you to check prescriptions. And so one of the things that we feel is a responsibility of a pharmacist is if there's a question about a prescription, if there's something about their medical condition, we should go talk to them. We're healthcare providers. You know, we're not just selling, you know, cookies off the shelf. And so when you have that difference of a pharmacist who's going to come out and talk to you, take care of you, make sure you're taking your medicine the right way, make sure you understand how to use that the blood sugar meter when you're first diabetic, things that you won't get at some of those bigger chains, not because the pharmacists don't want to do it, but because the chain doesn't want to do it. If you're homebound, chains aren't going to deliver a medication to your house. We deliver, you know, in our communities for free at a significant cost to us because some of these people can't get out. And so often the chains will say, well, we can mail it, or you can come to CVS, you can go to Walgreens. But we even see Walgreens closing all over the country. You know, big chains, Rite Aid bankrupt, Walgreens having major problems.
Because of the same issue?
Same issue. They'll tell you it's the exact same issue.
Wow. So I know that's something that you have tried to get help in Jefferson City, right?
Yes.
And can you tell what kind of legislation have you been proposing or been in favor of?
Yeah, so right now we have some legislation on both the House and Senate side. The bills are the same. The Senate bill is Senate Bill 984. Senator Jill Carter from Southwest Missouri is sponsoring that bill. And basically what we're asking is transparency for businesses, not even for pharmacies, but that if a business contracts with an insurance, they should know how much it costs them if the patient fills it at a local pharmacy, how much it costs them if they fill it at a chain, and how much it costs them if they go to the PBM's mail order pharmacy. That information is not provided to most business plan sponsors today. We feel like that is a normal thing. If you go to the grocery store, you get a receipt for what you bought. If you're buying healthcare, you ought to get a receipt for what you bought that says exactly what you pay for. So we have significant business helping us with that. You know, they want that. We're asking for some help on audits. The PBMs will audit us ostensibly just to make sure that we're doing the right thing, but they're often gotcha type audits. And then we're asking, we're just asking for some type of reimbursement help. When I was at the Capitol on Tuesday, working with the opposition, we asked them, can you just commit to paying us not less than what we buy the drug for?
What was the response?
No, that's not our problem.
So, again, and I'll toss this out again. If there's someone in the PBM industry that wants to come in and tell us your thoughts on it, we will happily do that. But what would you tell patients who, in the end, they just want to be able to afford their drugs too, right?
Right, right.
So how does this legislation, in your opinion, how would it help them? I know you said, in addition to the receipt thing, being able to see how much they're paying.
So our position is that we like free market economy. I'm a free market kind of guy, and I think generally the market fixes itself. Now, when you have large dominant players and it's not really a free market, then it can be a problem. And so that's why we as pharmacies want the transparency, because we believe if a business is contracting for their healthcare cost and they see that they're paying $10 at John's Pharmacy, but they're paying $250 for the same thing at a contracted PBM pharmacy, the business will say, this doesn't make sense.